What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. And we appreciate you guys' support and getting us this far. Now, today we have the honor and privilege of being joined by Brotha Lynch. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. I talked to you many moons ago when you were doing the strange music run for the articles for that stuff. So I'm excited to get back in touch.
Yes,
and we
sir.
got a lot to talk about today. So taking it all the way back, the first time I remember hearing of you or about you was that old Mr. Policeman record.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, it was
So
a
that,
record put together by a band that was working in the same studio with me and a partner of mine.
yeah, so that one was so intriguing to me as your career progressed because one, it was rock, two, you didn't produce it, three, style was totally different and everything.
Yeah.
So given that wasn't that far removed from 24 Deep, what was going on when you made Mr. Policeman versus going into making the 24 Deep EP?
Well, I actually was trying to keep up with Run-DMC. They had did a little rock joint, and they used to be my favorite group back in the day. So I kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try this. I'm gonna try this, and it kind of worked for us. And it was my first vinyl that I ever had too, so I was excited about that.
Right. And how did you get it in with the Funky Blue Velvet? Did you just happen to meet him in the studio that day? That was
well,
it?
I went to one of their shows. I didn't meet him that day, but I ended up meeting him in the studio, and the engineer that I was working with knew him really well. And they asked if you wanted to do a cut, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Because my mom, she's a rock fan. My mom was a hippie. She loved rock. So that's when I started liking rock. So it all made sense to me at that time.
Oh, okay. And then granted, that's much different than a lot of your other stuff, but how, if at all, do you think that kind of set the stage for you or introduced you to different people in a different way than what you later were known for?
Well, what it did is it let people know that you can expect anything from me. You know, I'm not like a closed in, just a gangster rapper or just a horrorcore rapper or anything like that. I mean, I've done singing, you know, so it's like it opened that up for me. So
Okay. And then also it was just Brotha Lynch on there. There was no hung and the brother was spelled different. So how and when did the name change come about?
well, it was actually hung back then. They just used Brotha Lynch. I don't know if it was a political thing, and because my name has always been controversial, you know, because so they just said Brotha Lynch, and they put brother ER instead of A too. So I figured that went along with why they just said Brotha Lynch.
Okay. And that being said, since your name is controversial, A, how did you come up with it? And B, why did you decide to keep it once you realized it might be a problem?
Well, I started out as a battle rapper, and I would go to every high school, and my brother, when I battle, most of the time I won. I think every time. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but he used to say I lynched those rappers, so he started calling me Lynch. The brother came from him being my brother, and then I put the hung on the end.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And with that, once you realized, you know, people change their names here and there, but what made you want to stick with it once you realized people were having a problem with it?
Well, it was actually my second name. I used to be Ice Cold, but it was too much like Ice-T, Ice Cube, so I changed that name. But I just went through a couple of, I mean, just the same as like me going on the Lisa show and they got mad because of my lyrics, said their son did that. It was that type of thing, but it went away fairly quick because the name started gathering, you know, a lot of praise or whatever, or the rapper, me, I started, you know, blowing up a little bit. So they kind of just let it go, I guess. Well, I did.
Right. Now, I remember hearing that there was controversy, but I never really understood the story. So I'm glad
Yeah, it never really got that bad.
Right. Lyrically, though, of course, there was, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So with 24 Deep, I know there's the single and the EP, but what was getting you with Black Market and what made them the right company to go with early on in your career?
Well, being from Sacramento, I never thought I would even get as far as I did. I never knew any. I think Tom Hanks or somebody from there made it. Jay King, Rumors, they made it. But I never thought rap would. So, um, what was the question again?
Just about getting with Black Market in particular.
Oh yeah, okay. So they came along. Actually, X-Rated hooked me up with Black Market, and I was kind of iffy, but then I saw that when they put them out, I was like, okay, they could at least get me out. So I chose them before, all the other stuff went down.
Right.
So he
Now,
got me out there. I was shocked.
yeah. And it's always amazing to me that you, X-Rated and SIBO in particular, had such huge careers and still do, of course, but that there was no record company infrastructure, there's no business there, and you guys were able to make it really happen. So early on, not knowing or thinking you could really make it when you were having early conversations with X-Rated or SIBO or whatever, what were you guys talking about as far as like the Ice T's, the Ice Cubes? Like, did you even imagine you'd be making songs with Ice T one day? Like, what was happening?
I never imagined it. I never, my first goal was to do a song with Run-DMC, and I kind of figured that ain't gonna happen. Ice-T lucked up on me. He's such a nice guy. And he said, not only will I get on, I'll invite you to my house. So he invited me to LA, and we went to his house, and he bragged about a lot of things he went through as a youngster, and then we got to recording. I didn't want to be in there when he recorded. I didn't want him to feel funny. So he recorded, I came back, I loved it, and we ate, and I shot back to Dave Weiner's house.
Well, that's the Seconds Away song Unloaded for those that don't know. But but taking it back to 24 Deep, and shout out to Dave as always for hooking us up, reconnecting us, I should say.
Right.
But with 24 Deep, one of the things that always impressed me about you early on in the game was on that project, and then with Season in the Sickness, that you wrote, produced, you did everything.
Yeah.
So what made you creatively want to so early in your career focus on making the beats, doing the rhymes, doing the mixing, all that stuff all at once so early?
I just wanted to make it so bad. And I wasn't into looking for producers and stuff, and didn't have the money to pay him if I did. So I had learned the piano from Funk Beta, which ended up doing my second album, Loaded. But I learned the piano from him, and I had already knew how to program drum tracks from when I was in high school banging on the table. So I kind of had that down, and I'm a bass line guy. I love bass line. So I put the bass line down, Beto will come behind it and put the chords, and that's how it went.
Okay, gotcha. And the cover of 24 Deep is so crazy. Just we do a segment, maybe we'll have to do that separate, but I was intrigued that like the imagery and everything right away. I was like, whoa, this is going to be some different stuff. And then right at the beginning, the intro, the Thought They Knew, you have the smoothness with the flutes and the talking, but then also mentioning about devil shit and all this other stuff. So how did you decide so early on in the intro, Thought They Knew, to blend that instantly right out the gate?
Well, I was on the intro of 24 Deep, you mean?
Yep.
Um
The Thought They Knew.
Beta, he played the intro, so I kind of went with what he had, you know what I mean? Because he's a good piano player. So I went with what he had, and just kind of went with that idea. I was more into the rapping part after. He's the skit guy, Funk Beta. He's the skit guy. He encouraged me to do all the skits. So I kind of just went with his ideas on that.
Okay. Yeah, because skits, well, I'll ask you now then, because skits are obviously a hallmark of your career, something you do on the projects that you really do yourself for real. So
Yes.
how and why have skits been so integral to what you do throughout your entire career?
I feel like they connect the album in a storyline type of way. And I love movies. So I always want my albums to have that movie feel to it. Horror movies, drama movies, and stuff like that. So I use the skits, and now I'm kind of sort of a master at the skits. I don't let nobody make my skits anymore, and I allow actors to come in and only lay what they lay right when they hear what I say. I want it reactional, not scripted. So that connects all my songs together, and I keep it down to about 4 or 5 skits an album.
Yeah. Because when you did the 3 album trilogy on Strange, it just showed me from the 90s keeping it up to the 2000s, you were
Yeah.
still doing it big. So that was
I
always
got some newer skits coming too that if BMG lets me, they're gonna watch over me a little more than when I had, you know, the reins to do anything I wanted.
okay.
But I
And
got some.
how does that make you feel creatively?
Well, I try not to think about it because I know BMG does big things. So if they don't want me to, I'm not gonna do it. Because they have some big plans for me. So
Okay.
it's not gonna take away from my creativity because I'll sneak some stuff in.
Gotcha. Now on the 24 Deep song, you talk about how you got so much going on in your head. You got voices and all that stuff, and then obviously trying to survive in the hood.
Mhm.
So, and I know some real life stuff that was going on with you around this time and earlier. So, how did you balance navigating street stuff with recording, with stress of life, with stress of the gangs, with stress of everything? How did you find you were able to find peace and navigate through all that?
Well, I had a homie now. He's locked up for life now. I remember we came out to LA, Dave Weiner and them, when I signed with Priority. We came out to LA. Dave put us in the Roosevelt, and it was a gang of us. We were literally a Crip gang. He pulled me aside and said, "Man, this is serious." He went and he had visited Priority Records when Dave Weiner was there. He said, "Man, this is serious for you. You need to stop the gang stuff on the streets and get serious about your music." And he's the only person that ever told me in my life that. And he was a OG. He was an older guy from my neighborhood, so I listened. Ever since then, I got away from the gang stuff. A little bit comes in the music, of course. I'm from that hood, so I really got away from it, and I really think I want to send a shot. His name is Big Zoe. I want to send a shot to him. I hope he's doing well in there.
So
Told me
that being said, people tell people stuff all the time. What made that really register with you? Like, man, I gotta really pay attention because if you got 30 dudes there saying, "Nah, ride with us, we're about to go do whatever we're about to do,"
yeah.
but you got one
Well,
voice telling you no, like what made that so
it didn't hit me right away.
okay?
Then when he went to jail and I heard he got life, I was like, oh, he means that, you know? So he was definitely headed in the wrong direction and he warned me. So that's at that time I took it.
Okay. And how long was that after he told you, would you say?
Whew. We toured. Dave and them put us on tour after that. After the tour, I say about a year.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this probably what, 96-ish then?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's several years later.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And with the production on 24 Deep with like Had to Gatcha, that one is the beats very slow, got the funky worm
Mhm.
manipulated and all that stuff. So how for you do you find, since you often rap so fast at times,
Mhm.
what does the matching of the beat being slow, you rapping fast, why does that work so well for you, do you think?
Um, Actually, I'm not even on that no more. But back then, um, I thought I was the fastest rapper. I started rapping in the '80s as the fastest rapper. even though I never came out. I thought I was the fastest rapper, but then when the Bones and the Tech Nines and the Twisters came out, I kind of got off of it. But back then, I just thought it was my style. And you know, I loved beats at that tempo, and I do, but a little more of a challenge now that I'm a little older. So I just kind of got off of it.
Okay. Gotcha. And
If
then,
that answered your question.
yeah. No, I was just curious. But with Backfade, chronologically on 24 Deep, that's where we get like the introduction of talking to the devil and kind of tag teaming and all this type of stuff. Where did you get that idea?
Horror movies. Like, I always thought that I talked to for some young, stupid reason, I always thought I talked to the devil. I'm an only child, I think kind of funny. I grew up pretty much with no friends, always by myself, and brain always thinking. So it came from that, being an only child and always talking to myself. I used to drive a pretend diesel around my apartments when I was young, just little stuff like that. So I think it came from there.
And what made you, why do you think you didn't have more friends or any friends early on?
I didn't know how. I didn't know how to make friends. I was real quiet and shy, and music like has me talking more than I've ever talked. It's easier to interview now since I put music out, but anytime in the 90s, oh no, you would have got the dumbest interview in the world. I'm to myself type of guy, so.
Okay. And then what at that time drew you to horror movies instead of comedy or action or foreign films or something? Like what was it about horror that you really enjoyed?
I love nightmares. When I used to have nightmares, I used to try to fall back asleep to go back to that same time. And it actually worked a couple of times. So I just like that kind of stuff for some reason. And I love horror movies.
So what did the nightmares do to you? Was it just exciting or was
well, they gave
like,
me ideas. The talking to the devil came from a nightmare that I had. Okay. I woke up and wrote it down. I always write my nightmares down in case I might need them.
So were you able to incorporate a lot of them throughout your career in the songs?
A few. Man, I've done so much stuff. I've done in skit form, some lines in certain songs, like putting the 9 up, I've had dreams like that.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't had nightmares lately. Maybe I'm too happy or something now.
Well, congratulations on being happy. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Also with 24 Deep, a thing too I thought was interesting with the Jackin' for Joints, because so much of the rest of the album is one place. That one you're playing off Jackin' for Beats by Ice Cube, and the tone of everything is so different. Do you remember why you got that idea and why that ended up happening in the way it did?
I was fighting between going mainstream and staying underground. So I tried that idea to see if it would blow up big enough to where I could be still kind of mainstream, but considered underground. And that's a battle I've been fighting my whole career.
Yeah, because
So I tried that song didn't work. So I went back strictly underground.
Because I always liked that song. I always liked Jackin' for Joints, and given the rest of your work, it always stuck out to me like, man, what happened to that?
Yeah, that was a try to go semi-mainstream.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for
just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The history of gangster rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The history of gangster rap in stores now.